Good evening. Welcome to the Masterclass. It's 5:30 p.m. and we shall discover how we can find the courage to be happy. Let's do a recap of last week. So let's see what we were doing. Let's try and catch up what happened for the new people who have come. So we were talking about work, relationship, and the philosophy of courage to be happy. The first takeaway was trust versus confidence. That was the discussion on. Work relationships are transactional because they are confidence based, grounded to conditions like collateral, while friendships are unconditional. So there was the confidence level of friends is very high and they are rooted to a person with human worth. Work as survival. Adler viewed work as a survival strategy. He talked about division of labor to compensate for human physical inferiority. Then we talk about worth is attitude. A person's worth is defined by their attitude towards work, not their profession. All work is honorable, as a community's diversity of roles is its strength. We talked about the 3 R's triangle of R's because we said the relationships are not linear and a strong relationship can spark reflection, which motivates reading. That's how we came about. So the 3 R's and the courage to be happy, we connected. Key concepts in courage to be disliked, we mentioned. Then in trust versus confidence, we very clearly said that if you look at a bank loan, it's conditional, it's transactional based. While if you look at a relationship with a person which is based on human worth, that's friendship. So we differentiated between work relationships and friend relationships. We honor all professions. That's what we talked about. I mentioned that this week we'll have a meet and greet with the author, and that has been published today. We had the honor of hosting Ratna Manuka. So she has just done a book, Combat Chuckles. It's a book on humor within the forces. So do read it if you get time. That is a little recap. So today we will go and read. Let me just share where we are today. The important thing is what use one makes of that equipment. Youth, interesting. This thing you are calling the Adlerian division of labor is certainly an interesting concept. The human being in the natural world is much too weak to live alone. That is why we formed groups and came up with the way of working called division of labor. When we carry out the division of labor, we can bring down a mammoth and we can farm and build dwellings. So we explained that there is a role for everyone in a community, in a family, in any relationship. So philosopher says that's right. So youth goes on, and the division of labor begins by trusting others regardless of one's likes and dislikes. We cannot live if we don't divide up the labor. We cannot live if we don't cooperate with other people, which is another way of saying that we cannot live without trusting others. This is the division of labor, relationship, and work relationship. So beautiful. We have to trust others. And this is very clear in work, where you go for a purpose. And if trust does not exist, work culture will not happen. So philosopher goes on, he says, yes, take the rules of traffic on public roads, for example. It is on the basis of our trust that all people follow the traffic, rules of traffic, that we pass through a green light. We are not having confidence in people unconditionally. We do look to the left and right first. But even then, we are placing a certain trust in other people whom we have never met. In a sense, this too is work relationship. In that it is fulfilled. It's fulfilling a shared interest in the smooth flow of traffic. So the answer is traffic flows. There is a certain amount of trust that you won't run me down on a zebra crossing. But even then, I look left and right and then cross. I see. I guess that works at this point. I can't find anything about the division of labor that needs to be refuted. But you have forgotten, have you? The departure point of this discussion was your remark. I should build friend relationships with my students. So that's where we had ended up last time. No, I have not forgotten. But considered in this context of the division of labor, your argument makes less sense than ever. Why on earth would I enter into friend relationships with my students? Clearly, it's a work relationship, isn't it? Neither I nor my students have any memory of having chosen each other. It's just a relationship that was mechanically assigned between people who were originally complete strangers. We have no choice but to cooperate in order to run the classroom and fulfill the objective of graduation. It is truly a work relationship that is entered into with a common interest. I think it is only natural to have such doubts. Now let's go over each of the points we have discussed today. What is the objective of education? What is the work that is required of the educator? Our discussion began with these questions. Adler's conclusion is a simple one. The objective of education is self reliance. I will pause here and read this again because we have read this chapter before. The objective of education is self reliance. Think about it because education helps you build your identity. It makes you feel responsible. It brings about duties. It brings about rights. It brings about privileges and it also brings about responsibilities. So I often say education is freedom with responsibility. And that's why education is self reliance. And the work that is required of the educator is assistance towards self reliance. I believe that you agreed with this point. So, this is a discussion which is going on, and we have now described how a teacher helps a student become self reliant. Yes, I'll allow it in any case. Then, in what way can one assist children to gain self reliance? In response to this doubt, I spoke about starting from respect. Indeed, you did. Why respect? What is respect? Here we must recall the words of Eric Fromm, namely, that respect is the ability to see a person as he is and the placing of worth on that person being that person. How well respect has been defined. I will repeat. Respect is the ability to see a person as he is and the placing of worth on that person being that person. Of course, I remember. Have regard for the person as he is. You are fine just as you. There is no need to be special. There is value in you just being you. Through respect and by conveying that, the children will regain the courage they had lost and begin climbing the first step of reliance. So, what are we saying? We respect every child, every individual as they are. And that I think is a very important lesson for a teacher. Youth, yes, that's a discussion in a nutshell. Now, this is the definition of respect that has emerged here. To have regard for the person as he is to trust that lies at the very root of respect. Or is it confidence? Oh, one has regard for that person as he is. without imposing one's own system of values. The reason one can do such a thing is that one is accepting and believing that person unconditionally. In other words, one is having confidence in him. Respect and confidence are synonymous. One could say that. Put the other way around. One cannot have confidence in someone whom one does not respect. Whether or not one can have confidence in someone depends on whether or not one respects that person. Ah, I get it. The gateway of education is respect, and respect is confidence. Therefore, a relationship based on confidence is a friend relationship. It's that sort of syllogism, right? Philosopher. That's right. One would not be able to respect one student in a trust based work relationship. And that is exactly how it is for you now. No, no, that is not where the issue lies. I can place unconditional confidence in my best friend, for example. I can accept him as the person he is. It is possible enough in such a case. The issue is not the act of having confidence, but the target. You are telling me to build friend relationships with all my students and to have unconditional confidence in all my students. Do you think that such a thing is really possible? Seher, would you like to add something? It's a very interesting question. Do you think something like this is really possible? To have unconditional confidence in every student?
Sir, it is not like in all the students, it's not possible. Like if I go in the class with 40 students, so it's not possible to have unconditional confidence in all the students. That is what
Okay.
my opinion is, sir.
Let's discover what happens ahead. Of course, I do. How? So now he's trying to explain him how this is possible. Suppose, for example, a person who is critical of everyone around them saying, I don't like this thing and so and so. And this aspect of that person is unbearable and such. And then they lament over it. Ah, I'm so unlucky. I'm not blessed when it comes to meeting people. Are such people really not blessed when it comes to meeting people? No, absolutely not. It is not that they are not blessed with comrades. It is only that they have not tried to make comrades. Or, in other words, that they have not tried to embark on interpersonal relationships. So let us see how interpersonal relationships, which we talk about every week, make all the difference. So one can become a comrade to anyone. Comrade is nothing but a friend or a colleague. One can. Maybe the relationship between you and your students is one all of you due to accidental factors just happening to be in that place. So what Seher said, he just happened to be in that place. So that's the only reason there is a relationship between a teacher and a student because they have come together in a class. Until
Sir,
that time, you were
if
all
it,
total strangers.
sir,
Yeah.
Sandeep, like if we see, like in a class, if we see that we cannot have friendship or we cannot be friend of our students, otherwise they will not respect us, they will treat us like of their age only. So little bit of that line should be there between student and the teacher. We
Yeah.
have to
Thank
be
you.
also.
Yeah, I respect what you're saying, and we have debated this in the previous chapter also. When we talk of the position of the taught and the taughted, learner and the learned, there is a duty and rights on either side. Let us complete this chapter and see why he says that it should be comrades. The challenge why I want to make very clear, and we have to be very clear about that it only works as far as learning are concerned when relationship is horizontal. If you take instructions and sit and follow them. That is what the teaching profession is all about. It doesn't always work. And likewise, if you don't give teachings and expect people to understand by minimal instruction, it doesn't work. It only works when you develop a connection between people at a plane. So that's how this whole book is about. And that's the whole Adlerian philosophy. And that's what makes it different from what we are doing currently. So let's discover a little more. Maybe the relationship between you and your students is one of all of you due to accidental factors, just happening to be in that place. Maybe until that time, you were all total strangers who didn't even know each other's faces or names. And maybe you won't become what you call best friends. Let's discover more. But remember that statement of Adler's. The important thing is not that one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment. Regardless of who the other person is, one can give them respect and one can believe in them because that is something that is the product of one single minded resolve and is not affected by the environment or the target. This is important. Regardless of who the other person is, one can give them respect and one can believe in them because that is something that is the product of one single minded resolve and is not affected by the environment or the target. This is based on a very solid premise that you have to trust. Now, just because 10%, 5%, 8%, 20% will let your trust down, do remember 80% live to your trust. And that's how the whole world moves. You do things, you pass rules, you pass laws, you cross the road with a trust that no one will run you down. But then every day there are accidents, people get run down. So here we go on. So it's that again. You are returning to the problem of courage. So you need courage to have that kind of trust. You are saying is the courage to believe. Yes, everything comes back to that. No, it doesn't. You don't know about real friendship. What do you mean? You don't have true close friends and you don't know about real friendship. And that's why you can talk about such pipe dreams. So this is rebuting what Shahar just said. I'll bet you have never had anything but shallow associations with people. That's why you can say that anyone will do. You are the one who's been running away from interpersonal relationships and from your life tasks. Let's see what the takeaway from this little chapter is. In the natural world, the human being is such a small and feeble creature. To make up from the weakness, humans created society and brought forth division of labor. Division of labor is an incomparable survival strategy that is unique to the human race. This was the division of labor conveyed by Adler. If the discussion had ended there, the youth would have applauded Adler enthusiastically. But when it came to the friendship and the philosopher began presenting next, he was far from convinced, which is what you people are. This guy can't talk about such well grounded division of labor. And then in the next breath, change the subject to friendship and start espousing ideals after all. And now he brings up courage again. So let's move on. How many close friends do you have? That's what we are trying to address. Think of this. How many close friends do you have? So you have a best friend, don't you? I don't know how he feels about it, but I do have one friend in whom I would have what you call unconditional confidence. What kind of person is he? He was my classmate at university. The guy wanted to become a novelist, and I was always the first to read his work. Late at night, when everyone else was sound asleep, out of the blue, he'd show up at the boarding house where I lived and say, his voice shaking with excitement, read the short story I just completed. Or, hey, I found this amazing passage in a Dostoevsky novel. Even now, he still sends me new pieces of writing every time He finishes them. And when I got hired as an instructor, he celebrated with me. So here is one particular case study he has given. Was this fellow a close friend of yours from the start? How could he have been? Friendship is something that takes time to cultivate. He didn't become a close friend overnight. We laughed together, marveled at things together, and it grew into an ever so slightly complicit relationship. We cultivated the friendship gradually and became close friends, while some think through his intense conflicts at times. So, in other words, at some point, he was elevated from being a friend to being a close friend. Was there something that led to your thinking of him as a close friend? I wonder. If I had to, I guess I'd say it was when I felt sure that with the guy, it's okay to talk frankly about everything. This is important. With this guy, it's okay to talk frankly about everything. Bedrock is confidence. You cannot talk frankly about everything with a normal friend. That's how it is for everyone. All people go through life wearing a social mask. People go through life hiding their true feelings. Even with a friend, you exchange smiles and jokes with each time you meet him. You never get to see his real face. We choose our subjects of conversation, our attitudes, and our words. All of us interact with our friends while wearing a social mask. Very well said. This is an exciting para to read. I will read this again. All people go through life wearing a social mask. People go through life hiding their true feelings. Even with a friend, you exchange smiles and jokes. With each time you meet, you never get to see his real face. We choose our subjects of conversation, our attitudes, and our words. All of us interact with our friends while wearing a social mask. Why can't you take off the mask when you are with a normal friend? Because if I did such a thing, the relationship would fall apart. You can talk all you want about the courage to be disliked and such, but there's no such thing as a person who would actually wish to be disliked. We wear the mask to prevent needless conflict from arising and to prevent the relationship from falling apart. If we don't do that, society won't operate. To put it more directly, are we avoiding being hurt? Yes, I'll acknowledge that. Certainly, I don't want to get hurt, but I don't want to hurt someone else. But you see, it isn't only out of self protection that we wear the mask, it's actually more out of kindness. If we were to live only with our real faces and our true feelings, you would hurt too many people. Just imagine what the world would be like if everyone was crashing their true feelings into each other. It's a perfect picture of hell with blood spattered all around. Philosopher. But you can take off that mask when you are with your close friend. And even if that leads to you hurting each other, the relationship won't fall apart, will it? Sure, I can take it off. The relationship won't fall apart. Even if he commits a faux pas once or twice, I don't think would be reason enough to sever my relationship with him. I'll pause here and highlight a word. It's not fox pass, it's faux pas. The X is silent. He commits a faux pas once or twice, which means it's a gaffe. He makes a wrong judgment. Faux pas is when you miss out something which is quite evident. Because the relationship is based on accepting each other's strengths and shortcomings. So you will automatically close your eyes to certain weaknesses and avoid them. That is a wonderful relationship. And the important thing is, there are precious few people in the world who will allow us to have such a sense of certainty. One would be lucky to find even five during one's lifetime. Well, please get my question. Do you have any true close friends? Because from the way you talk, you really sound like a person who doesn't know anything about close friendship or about friendship that only has comrades he knows from books and daydreams. Yes, of course. I have several close friends. And to borrow your words, they are people with whom I can have my real face. Or even if they commit a faux pas once or twice, I don't think that would be reason enough to sever my relationship. What kind of people are they? School friends? Comrades in philosophy? Comrades in Adlerian research? For example, you. Ah, what did you say? As I have said before to me, you are irreplaceable friend. I have never worn a mask in your presence. So, does that mean you have unconditional confidence in me? Of course I do. If I did not, this dialogue would not be able to take place. No way. It's the truth. This isn't a joke. You think you can get away with manipulating a person's heart this way? You phony, wise man? I am not the kind of person who's taken in by such honeyed words. What beautiful vocabulary we picked up. Honeyed words. Interesting one. Honeyed word when you say something just to please someone. Phony, wise man. That's what he's calling the philosopher. And he thinks the philosopher is manipulating his heart. So here's a relationship between the teacher and a student which is playing. Do watch that carefully. First, believe. Why are you so adamant in your denial of confidence? But it's the other way around. I wish you'd tell me what is the point in believing in a complete stranger and in believing them without conditions. To believe in someone unconditionally is to be unquestioning of others and to believe in them blindly. Is the same as saying one should just become an obedient sheep. You are wrong. Believing is not just swallowing everything one hears. Hook, line, and sinker. Let me pause here. This is a phrase you can use. Hook, line, and sinker. So there are three words, which means you believe what is happening. So in this case, it goes back to fishing. In fishing, the fisherman throws a hook with a line and sinks it. The fish believes and gets stuck on the sinker's line. So that is why this phrase came about. Believing is not just swallowing everything one hears. Hook, line, and sinker. One is skeptical with regard to the person's thoughts and beliefs and to the statements he makes. One steps back for a moment and thinks for oneself. There's nothing wrong with doing so, and it is important work. On top of that, even if someone is telling lies, one must believe in the whole person who lies to us. Oh, believe in others? This is not the passive conduct of swallowing something hook, line, and sinker. Real confidence is in all respects an active approach. Let me highlight this. This is an important part. So, real confidence in all respects an active approach. What are you saying? For example, I would like as many people as possible to learn of Adler's ideas. I hope to present Adler's words. However, this wish is not something that can be realized through my labor alone. It is something that forms upon there being a will to listen on the part of the person who receives my words and on the part of the person who listens deeply to them. Then, in what way can I get someone to receive and listen deeply to my words? I cannot force them and say, believe in me. That person is free to believe or not to believe. The only thing I can do is believe in the other party to whom I'm speaking. That is all. This is how we have come so far in my good school and good school alliance. It's the belief that has brought us together. So, youth, believe in the other party? Yes. If I were to speak to you about Adler with a sense of distrust, which means if I did not have belief in Adler and I preached to you, it would just go in one ear and out of the other. Regardless of the validity of my discourse, you would have no intention of listening from the very start. That would be perfectly natural. But I want you to believe in me. I want you to believe in me and listen to Adler's words. So I will believe in you first, even if you yourself are trying not to believe. You want me to believe in you? So believe in me first. Right. Take, for example, when parents who do not have confidence in their children say, now watch. Right. Take, for example, when parents who do not have confidence in their children are worrying about various things, even if their arguments are quite reasonable ones, they do not reach the children. Actually, the more reasonable the arguments are, the more the children want to oppose them. Why do they oppose them? Because their parents are actually seeing them at all. Anyone as the parents are in the midst of distrusting themselves, the children are getting all the standard lectures. Reasonable arguments not being understood as such in something I'm well aware of on a daily basis. Philosopher. We try not to believe only the words of a person who will believe in me. We do not judge the other party by the rightness of their opinion. Youth. I'll accept that aspect exists, but the rightness of your opinion is going to be questioned in the end. All conflicts, from a small quarrel to a war between nations, arise as a result of collisions of my justice. Justice is something that takes on all manner of forms depending on the era, the environment, or individual standpoints. And no matter where one may go, there is only one justice or one solution. It would seem that it is dangerous to overestimate rightness. Within that, we are looking to find common ground. We are looking for a connection with other people. We are hoping to join hands. If you want to join hands with others, you have to reach out with your hands too. No, that's another arrogant notion. Why? Because when you say you believe in me, that you're thinking is, so believe in me too, right? No, I'm not. It's not something one can force. I believe in you whether you believe in me or not. I keep on believing. That is the meaning of unconditional. How about right now? I do not believe in you, even after being so firmly rejected and verbally abused with cruel words. Can you still completely believe me? Of course I can. I believe in you just as I did 3 years ago. If I did not, you would not be able to engage in discussion for such a long time and with such earnestness. A person who does not believe in others cannot engage in direct discussion. Such a person would not think, with this guy, it'll be okay to talk frankly about everything, as you so admirably put it. Ah, this is impossible. There is no way I can believe such words. That is fine. I will just go on believing. I will believe in you and I will believe in human beings. Oh, shut up. You are a religious type right now. This is a typical teacher. Teacher will always believe in you and continue believing in you. And that's the beauty of being a teacher. So it automatically goes to the next step and the next chapter. People never understand each other. So that's why the world is where it is today. I've said this before, but I'm not a follower of a particular religion. However, in both Christianity and Buddhism in such ways of thought that have been cultivated and refined over a period of several thousand years. There is a power that cannot be ignored. It is because they contain uniform truths and they still survive. Yes, for example, do you know the love thy neighbor phrase from the Bible? Yes, of course. It's that neighborly love that you enjoy talking about so much. This phrase is in circulation with an important part left out. In the Gospel of Luke, in the New Testament of the Bible, it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. As thyself? That's right. He's saying not just to love one's neighbor, but to love them as much as one loves oneself. If one cannot love oneself, one cannot love others. If one cannot believe in oneself, why can one cannot believe in others? Please think of the phrase as carrying that connotation. Connotation means messaging. It means tone. It means the message. You are insisting that you cannot believe in other people, but that is because you have not managed to truly believe in yourself. So it's important to first believe in yourself. Then only you can believe in anyone else. You are making too many assumptions. Being self centered does not mean looking only at oneself because one likes oneself. In actuality, the opposite is the case, and it is because one is unable to accept oneself as one is, and because one is constantly beset with anxiety that one has concern only for oneself. So you're saying that because I hate myself, I look only at myself? Yes, that's right. Oh, what an unpleasant psychology. It is the same thing regard to other people. For example, when recalling a lover one had a bad breakup with, for a while, it's only the bad things about the other person that come to mind. This is evidence that you want to feel, I'm glad we broke up, and that some uncertainty remains about your decision. If you don't tell yourself, I'm glad we broke up, you might lose your resolve. See it as being that kind of stage. And you recall the good points about the former lover. That means you do not have the need to actively dislike that person and can be free from feeling towards that person. Either way, the issue is not whether one likes or dislikes the other person, but whether one likes oneself now. Hmm. You have not yet learned to like yourself. As a result, you cannot believe in others. You cannot believe in your students and are unable to embark on friend relationship. That is exactly why you are now trying to gain a sense of belonging through your work. You are trying to prove your worth by being successful in your work. What is wrong with that? Recognition at work is recognition from society. No, in principle, we may say that it is your functions that are recognized as a result of your work, not you. If someone who possesses greater functions appears, the people around you will turn to that person. That is the principle of the marketplace, the principle of competition. As a result of that, you will never be able to get out of the vortex of competition and never again a true sense of belonging. Then how can one gain a true sense of belonging? Let's see what this is. One has confidence in other people and one embarks on friend relationships. We are here because you have a relationship, and between you and us, we have a friend relationship. That is the only way. We cannot gain happiness solely by dedicating ourselves to our work. But even if I believe in someone, there's no way to know if that person will have confidence in me or if that person will embark on a friend relationship with me. This is the separation of tasks. How does the other person feel about you? And what sort of attitude do they take towards you? Those are the other person's tasks and not something you have any control over. No way. That doesn't make sense because if we are going to treat the separation of tasks as a prerequisite Wouldn't that mean that we never really know each other? It is a given that it is not possible to know everything that the other party is thinking. One believes in another as an unknowable being. That is confidence. We human beings are human beings who cannot know each other. And that is exactly why believing is the only way. Ah, so everything you are saying is religion after all. Adler was a thinker who had the courage to believe in human beings. Actually, given the situation he was placed in, maybe he had no choice but to believe. What do you mean? This is the perfect opportunity for us to take look back at the circumstances that led Adler to put forward the concept of community feeling. Why, in the face of criticism, did Adler advance this idea? Naturally, he had a substantial reason. Thank you. We will create a bookmark here. And just give me a moment. I'll just save this screenshot. That's the bookmark for this week. Wonderful to have people be with us this Saturday, the 2nd. So, will you look at friendship with a different perspective after reading this? Any comments on that? Will it make you think something different about friendship? Anyone wants to add something? Please unmute and talk. It's open to all. We have a few minutes. Let's try and see what impact this reading had today.
Well, yes, sir. I think getting into friendship or into a good relationship with people is important. Normally, what happens is we consider students to be too young and somebody whom we need to control, and hence we try to avoid doing it. But ultimately, some sort of a relationship has to be, whether we call it friendship, whether we call it whatever we call it, but there has to be some plane where we meet. Otherwise, nothing is. We are not going to be able to impart any knowledge. We'll exchange nothing actually, because it's not about imparting knowledge. We both learn, students and teachers together, so we'll like exchange nothing. So that is the basic thing. So at some plane we'll have
Yeah.
to start developing a relationship, and it cannot always be that we are the older ones and we are the nurturers and we are this and that. If it is always that, then it's not an equal relationship. It's a one-sided thing. So something more healthy where they also feel that they are nurturing us, they are helping us, they are doing things for us. That becomes important.
Thank you, Meenakshi. I think it's important to understand that relationship and friendship are almost synonymous words. If you are friends with yourself, which is what the chapter clearly said, first love yourself, like yourself. And when you like yourself and you're happy, you'll always look at the world in a positive manner.
A
That's a
very
very
tall
simple
order,
message.
sir. A very tall order. We are
Yeah,
so always critical of us.
that, that is the whole story, that you have to first understand yourself. You always feel that you are incomplete. And I think that is the turning point of your trying to be a better person in the world. Yes, some connection is required. But before you connect with the person outside, I keep saying, connect with yourself. And our 3 hours come back. When we read, we develop relationships. And when we develop relationships, we reflect. So whether you reflect or you develop relationships, or you develop relationships and you reflect, that's how friendships are nurtured. And a classic example, why do we come here? We can all read the book sitting home. We don't have to come here. We come here because a relationship has happened. And I want to give you a real example here. This is a horizontal relationship. We were just back from a My Good School retreat, and Akanksha wrote a beautiful thank you note today. Thank you, Akanksha, for that. So my biggest takeaway from the retreat was this, that we all sat down on the same ground in the common room and learned together. Now, that's true friendship. So when you tell you can't form friendship with students and between teachers, I think you're not understanding the depth of the relationship. Because once you understand this, then that is the magic. That is trust and that is confidence. Thank you, Vishakha. Thank you, Akanksha. Thank you, Minakshi. Thank you, Kanak. Thank you, Pushpendra. And even thank you, Seth, for believing in us and coming here. You come here, and that's the beauty.
Yes,
And that's the relationship. Have a great Sunday, and maybe you come to my good school. Enjoy yourself tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.